We are a group of young people with a deep love for Vietnamese culture and history. From familiar folk tales to legendary stories that carry the spirit of our ancestors, these are priceless treasures passed down through generations. With that passion, we hope to breathe new life into these old stories, making them more relatable, vivid, and easier for today's audience, especially the younger generation, to connect with. DeKei Studio is proud to present our very first video series retelling the legends and folk tales from the rich cultural heritage of Vietnam. We hope this will be a small but meaningful journey, one that brings us all a little closer to our roots and helps us hear the voices of the past in a fresh and modern way. As we're still in the early stages of developing this channel, there will surely be things we can improve. We truly welcome your honest feedback so we can keep getting better with each video. If you enjoy the content we're creating, please support us by subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and turning on the notification bell so you won't miss the next stories. Even a small share from you would mean the world to us and help spread Vietnamese culture to more people. Thank you so much for being here with DeKei Studio. The Princess My Chau, the Prince Trong Thuy, and the Lost Kingdom. This is one of Vietnam's most haunting and legendary tales, a story of love, betrayal, and the fall of an ancient kingdom. Set during a time when the land was under constant threat, the tale follows Princess My Chau, a young woman torn between her devotion to her husband and her loyalty to her father, the king. When trust is broken and war erupts, the consequences are devastating. What begins as a royal marriage meant to bring peace turns into a tragic unraveling of a nation. Join us as we journey back in time to explore a story that has echoed through generations. A tale not only of personal heartbreak, but of the painful price a country once paid for misplaced love and blind faith. Once upon a time, our land was known as Van Lang, ruled for generations by the Hung kings. Over time, the country flourished in peace, the people were hard-working, rice harvests were abundant, and the mountains and rivers shone with natural splendor. However, during the reign of the 18th Hung king, the last of the dynasty, the king fell into indulgence, neglecting his duties for pleasures and banquets. His courtiers were sycophants and corrupt, plunging the court into chaos. The people were disheartened, uprisings began to spread, and thieves roamed freely. The people lamented, "Heaven help us, the king no longer cares for the nation. To whom will this land belong?" At that time in the north, a talented leader named Thuc Phan, head of the Ao Viet tribe, rose to prominence. A man of intelligence and great ambition, he was deeply moved upon hearing of the suffering in Van Lang. Seeing his opportunity, Thuc Phan rallied his army, crossed mountains and forests, and marched on Van Lang's capital. The Hung king had lost the people's loyalty, and no soldier was willing to fight. The kingdom weakened quickly. After several fierce battles, Thuc Phan emerged victorious. The 18th Hung king abandoned the throne and vanished into the deep mountains, bringing an end to a glorious dynasty that had lasted nearly 2,000 years. After ascending the throne, Thuc Phan took the title An Duong Vuong and renamed the country Ao Lac, unifying the Ao Viet and Lac Viet peoples. Determined to rebuild the kingdom, he chose Ko Loa, a region strategically located between mountains and plains, as the new capital. There, he ordered the construction of a mighty citadel. But strangely, every time the citadel was built, it collapsed. What was built by day crumbled by night, wasting much labor and wealth. Worried, the king set up an altar to pray to the heavens. One night, a divine turtle spirit named Kim Kwai appeared from the mist and said, "This land is sacred, but dark forces are at work. I shall help you. When the citadel is completed, I will leave behind one of my claws, a sacred relic. Give it to the most skilled craftsman to forge a crossbow to protect the kingdom." True to the turtle's word, from that day forward, the citadel of Ko Loa stood firm, coiling in 9 majestic spirals like a dragon's scales. The sacred claw was entrusted to Ko Loa, a virtuous and talented general. He crafted a magical crossbow known as the Heavenly Crossbow that unleashed 100 arrows with a single draw, undefeated in battle, feared by all enemies. From then on, the kingdom of Ao Lac grew strong, and the people lived in peace. But to the north, King Trio Da of Nam Viet, a kingdom founded by a former Chin general, coveted the lands of Aulak. He sent his army south to invade. Unduong Vuong calmly brought out the magic crossbow. Nam Viet's army was utterly defeated. Blood flowed like rivers. Trio Da had no choice but to retreat and began plotting another way. Realizing brute force would not prevail, he devised a cunning plan: to send his son Trong Thuy to propose marriage and forge an alliance by marrying the princess of Aulak. Wishing for peace, and seeing that Trong Thuy was courteous and well-mannered, An Duong Vuong agreed and gave his daughter, Princess Mi Chau, in marriage. She was beautiful, gentle, and deeply filial. Living in the palace, Trong Thuy gradually developed sincere feelings for Mi Chau, who loved him wholeheartedly in return. Yet in his heart, he never forgot his father's command to uncover the secret of the magical crossbow. One day, Trong Thuy casually asked, "My beloved, what secret does your father hold that makes invaders fall in defeat time and time again?" Without a trace of suspicion, My Chau smiled and answered, "It is the sacred crossbow made from the claw of the golden turtle. My father keeps it in the inner chamber and only uses it in times of grave danger." Feigning surprise, Trong Thuy rejoiced inwardly. Sometime later, he requested to return home to visit his father, and before leaving, asked My Chau, "If war breaks out and we are separated, how will I find you?" My Chau gently replied, "My cloak is made of goose feathers. If we are parted, I will scatter the feathers along the road so you can follow the trail to me." Moved, Trong Thuy embraced her. That night, he secretly replaced the real crossbow trigger with a fake one, and at dawn, he departed for Nam Viet. Upon his return, Trong Thuy revealed everything. Overjoyed, Trio Da gathered a massive army and launched a sudden attack on Aulak. And Duong Vuong, hearing of the invasion, remained calm and ordered the magical crossbow to be brought out. But when he pulled the string, the crossbow failed to fire. The enemy surged over the city walls like a tidal wave. In panic, the king fled south with Mi Chau on horseback. Along the way, My Chau quietly dropped goose feathers, believing her husband would come to save her. They reached the seashore where the vast ocean stretched ahead and enemy troops closed in behind. And Duong Vuong cried out in despair, "Is this the end of my road?" Suddenly, the divine turtle Kim Kui rose from the waves and sternly declared, "The one behind you is the traitor." The king turned to look at his daughter, stunned as if struck by lightning. In anguish, he asked, "Do you understand why the crossbow failed?" Tears streaming down her face, Mi Chau trembled. I did not know. Trong Thuy is my husband. I only trusted him." Closing his eyes, An Duong Vuong drew his sword. "For the sake of personal love, you have caused the loss of our kingdom." The blade flashed. My Chau collapsed, her final breath carried away by the bitter sea wind. With her dying words, she whispered, "I was foolish. May my blood turn to pearl to prove my innocence." Then An Duong Vuong turned toward the sea, sword in hand, and leapt into the silver waves, vanishing with the divine turtle spirit. It is said that where Mi Chau fell, a species of oyster was born that holds pink pearls, her blood transformed. In a well within Koloa citadel, where Trong Thuy once gazed at her reflection, he later threw himself in, out of remorse. Legend has it that water from that well, when used to cleanse pearls, makes them glow with an extraordinary brilliance, like the sorrowful tears of a tragic love that echoes through the ages. The story of the Princess Mi Chau, the Prince Thuy and the Lost Kingdom is a haunting legend about love, trust, and the price of betrayal. It reminds us that even the deepest affections can be clouded by loyalty to power, and that a single moment of misjudgment may lead to the fall of an entire nation. My Chau, with her innocent heart and unwavering trust, became both a victim of love and a symbol of tragic sacrifice. Trong Thuy, torn between his duty and his emotions, left behind a sorrowful legacy, one that lingers in the depths of Vietnamese folklore. Through this story, we not only remember the fall of an ancient kingdom, but also reflect on the values of wisdom, responsibility, and the delicate balance between love and loyalty. These timeless lessons continue to echo through generations, reminding us to guard our hearts, but also to forgive, to remember, and to grow. Thank you for joining DeKei Studio in revisiting this legendary tale. We hope it brought you a fresh and meaningful perspective on a story that has been passed down for centuries. If you enjoyed this journey back into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to follow our upcoming stories. There are still so many tales to be told, and we can't wait to share them with you. See you in the next episode.